You know what's tragic? I think I filmed more answers, but then they didn't get recorded because my SD card decided to tell me, "You've been talking for too long now, shut up." So now I'm on my iPod, which is why the quality is not as good. But you came here for the answers, and I'm going to continue to deliver them. So let's just go. Is there a divide between middle class and working class students at Oxford? I would say there is, but I'm kind of oblivious to these kind of things. I think certain types of people would hang out in different types of societies and different social groups, so you probably wouldn't even see them much. There is a divide, but I don't think you would notice it most of the time because you'd probably be in your social group and they would be in theirs, depending on which group you're in. Generally speaking, I don't think it would affect your day-to-day life. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I wouldn't be silly enough to say that it doesn't exist because I think it does. There definitely is a divide, but I don't think it should be a concern for you. What's the most important thing to prepare when you're in high school if you're planning to go to Oxford? I think you should be confident and believe in your own thoughts. Don't over-prepare because you'll just get burnt out before you even arrive. And again, all your self-worth will be pinned on getting into Oxford. And if you don't get in, that would be very detrimental to yourself. And if you do get in, then you'll probably face imposter syndrome, which you will face anyway, but it will be very severe, I think, when you get into Oxford and you're like, oh wow, I'm not good enough, even though I already tried so hard. So yeah, don't try too hard. Try and prepare. Just be confident in yourself, basically. How many people are there on the Chinese course? It varies. It's a very small course. I think maximum they would take is probably 30. But in my year group, there was 15, and then it went down to 11. Yep. If you could talk about what sort of things to put in your personal statement and what the interview process was like. So as I said before, I made videos about the interview process. Of course, at the time, I didn't intend for those to be on YouTube, but I would have tweaked them, and I was planning on making videos, but I lost the footage, which is really sad. So I can't really remember what I was going to say, but the interview process does vary for person to person, subject to subject, and also maybe the college. For Chinese studies, you normally have like 2 interviews, one in the department and one in the college that you interviewed at. I had a third one, which was at the college that I was eventually pulled to. So I applied to St. Anne's College and then I got pulled to University College, and I'm really happy that that happened. When that happens to people, they usually are happy with it, so that's great. So from my experience and what I think generally happens with Chinese studies, in your departmental interview, you get given some unseen texts. There's usually 2, and then you go into your interview and you tell them which one you prepared, and then they ask you questions about that, and you have a dialogue, a conversation. It kind of mimics the tutorials that you'd have later on if you do get in, and it's an enjoyable experience, to be honest. If you are interested in your course, then having the chance to talk about it with experts is quite exciting, I think. So yeah, how to prepare, I think, do a lot of reading on current affairs, just like how to analyze texts, maybe. Try and have unique thoughts, but don't overdo it. Don't say things for the sake of saying it. That was so difficult to say, oh my god. And also, like, be able to back up your opinions because they will question you, not necessarily because you're wrong, just because they want to see your thought process. How many hours a day did you spend learning characters? I don't know, I can't remember. Written Chinese was my weak point with my course, so I should have put in more hours, but I struggled because I am dyspraxic. So yeah, I've never said that publicly before, but hello, that is what it is. I can talk about that another day if you want me to. That would be fun. But I think a couple of hours a day at least. You could even just do 20 minutes if you really can't be bothered, but try and do like an hour, a few hours. Don't overdo it, but the people who did overdo it became really good at Chinese, so it really depends on what you can put in, especially if you're learning from scratch. Pros and cons of choosing to do an optional dissertation. So I think it's a slightly misunderstood question. When you do a subsidiary language, you're choosing that over optional modules in Chinese. You can do 2 modules related to a specific area of Chinese, and that depends on the tutors that are available in that year. And if you do that, then yes, you do like a mini dissertation. Pros and cons of that, I guess. Pro is that it prepares you for the actual dissertation because you get experience on how to write a research paper and how to reference and all those kind of things. Con is that it could be stressful at the time. It's a lot of extra work, but it's not really worth much besides the experience, I think. So yeah. How much reading was required for your essays, and in general, do you think more or less reading was required for your degree compared to other degrees at Oxford? Oh my god. Yes, for Chinese, you do way more reading than other courses. I don't even care what people say. Chinese is not an easy course. The fact that so many people don't even know that it's a course just, it suddenly got really hot in here. There's a lot of reading. Some of my reading lists had like 15 books. I would say on average it was like 6 to 15 per essay, but you don't have to read them all, and sometimes it's just for references. You don't have to read the whole book either. It's difficult to get your hands on them sometimes because there aren't that many copies, and obviously everybody wants to read them, so there's that. I think compared to some other subjects, like No, I wouldn't say that they're easier or like ours is harder or anything, but I definitely think Chinese has a lot more work than some other subjects from what I kept hearing when I was studying and from what I hear from other people now. Yeah, so there's a lot of reading. And fun fact, I hate reading now. I actually hate reading. I struggle with it. And because of that, check out the link in the description because, yeah. Funnily enough, this will be the first time I'm saying this publicly as well. I made a podcast recently where I read books to people who maybe need help sleeping or just need some extra voice in the background to basically help me enjoy reading again. And that is all thanks to Oxford that I don't like reading. Yeah, the link's in the description bar. It's low-key. If you want to listen, you can listen. If you don't, it's cool. How much freedom do you have when it comes to choosing a dissertation topic? And if you want to disclose, what was yours about? So my one was about, I guess, how young people in mainland China use makeup and how it links to political things that were happening at the time. And I'm simplifying it. It was very interesting, and you do have a lot of freedom, like a lot of freedom when it comes to your dissertations. The only thing that could be restricting you is finding a supervisor who would understand your topic, but then there's never going to be a specific tutor or supervisor out there who would know your topic. Like, I did mine about makeup, you know? There was no tutor out there who specialized in makeup in China, but I made it work and it was fine. And same for you, your tutors will help you revise your question and make it more specific and things like that, and then you'll find a supervisor. If you really can't find one in your department, you can find it outside of your department, and you can work that out with your tutors at the time. But you get a lot of freedom. It just needs to be related to China if you're doing Chinese studies, that is. So yeah, it could be about like the production of oranges in China if you want to do that. What did a typical year abroad day look like? What sort of cool things did you do? And places that you went to. So again, actually, I filmed a bunch of vlogs when I was in China, but before I was making YouTube videos, so they were just for my friends and family. And then most of that footage is now lost on my old laptop because I wanted to share those on here. I thought that would have been fun to look back at. But if I ever get them back, I really will post those because those will be really cool. In short though, for me, a typical day in my year abroad, like they all looked very different to each other. There wasn't a typical day besides like when I went to uni, because for Chinese studies you're enrolled at Peking University and you have to do a set course there. For other subjects it's a little bit more free. Like if you do a European subject, then you can either study, I think, or you can work, and that's up to you and you have to organise that yourself. For Japanese, you go to Kobe University and you have a course, but I don't know too much about it. But yeah, for my year abroad I did so many cool things. I went to so many cool places, a lot of random experiences. Like I attended a singing show one time but in the audience, and that in itself is a story time for another day. If you want to hear about it, like if you made it to this far in the video and you want to know more about that story, leave a comment. I'll make a separate video. But yeah, I did a lot of cool things. I met a lot of cool people, and I'm sure you would do the same when you go on yours one day. Did you go travelling during your abroad? Did you come home for the winter holidays? I didn't do as much travelling as some of my friends. You know, being an Asian girl, I had a lot of restrictions from my family. They didn't want me to travel as much, which is fair enough. But other people definitely went travelling. They went to like Vietnam, Inner Mongolia, Australia, other places. So yeah, you can travel if you organise it yourself. I went to a few places in China and that was really cool. Tianjin is really close to Beijing, so if you ever want to go somewhere low-key, you can literally catch the train and go in half an hour. Winter holidays, most people do go back home because they want to celebrate Christmas, and you can do that. And also that doesn't conflict with your schedule at university, so it's fine. Did you prefer tutorials or classes, and did you feel that the fortnightly tutorial was enough since most subjects have a couple a fortnight? Okay, last question first. I definitely think that the fortnightly essay was enough because we have so much language work in between all of that, and doing the readings for those essays takes a long time, so don't underestimate the fact that you have one every 2 weeks. Sometimes it's more than that as well, because if you do options or if you do a subsidiary language, you also get cultural essays. Sometimes you might just have more than one for your main subject as well. Yeah, I wouldn't say that that's not enough. And what's the other question? I think I preferred classes. Yeah, I think I preferred classes. They were less anxiety inducing, most of the time anyway. Pros and cons of picking a subsidiary language. Is there more essay writing if you stick with your core language? No. Common misunderstanding there. You have a lot of essay writing for subsidiary language. So it's a common misunderstanding. If you do subsidiary language, you definitely have a lot of essays to write. And I think your language work is a lot. I think you should just not take it. I don't know. I've already said this before, just like, don't do it. As a graduate, do you think your degree has given you an edge when looking for jobs? Do you feel there was loads of career paths for you as a result of your degree? So, due to the current market, especially because of COVID, I think finding a job is difficult for everybody, and I don't think going to Oxford gives you much of an edge. Doing Chinese, I think only gives you an edge when you're applying to jobs that have Chinese speaking elements. in most jobs, like, it just looks weird and you don't have the experience necessary for the jobs that they're advertising. It's a bit false to think that doing Chinese at Oxford is going to get you every job out there. It's not. Unless you get a first, maybe then. I think it would be easier if you apply to jobs that are related to your degree, but of course, Chinese is not vocational. You'd have to look for jobs that are looking for skills related to your degree, because there are a lot of skills that you get out of every degree. Slightly less degree related, and this is the last question, by the way. What are your plans now that you've graduated? Masters, work, Netflix? So currently I am managing a charity shop that I opened with my dad. I made a tour video and I plan to make another one, so do check that out. If you're in London, please come visit us. We're called the British Bangla Welfare Trust and we're located in Stratford. So that's a lot of work. I launched an Instagram the other day and I've been posting a lot on there, so do give us a follow. That's what I'm doing now, and I don't want to say anything else about job-related things. Maybe I'll update you in the future, but that is that for now. And yeah, I don't plan on doing a master's. That was another question. No, not for me, no. Especially because I don't like reading as much as I used to. Maybe if I can fix that. I had originally planned to do a master's in psychology. I always wanted to do psychology. I almost did psychology as my undergrad course, but that didn't happen. So yeah. That is it for all my questions. I think I'm going to film one more separately about, like, how did I get into Oxford, because I get asked that a lot. And that was it. I hope you enjoyed this. This was super long, and I can tell you as a fact that this was long to edit as well. But I hope you benefited, and if you did, please share it with someone else, give it a like, check out all the links in the description, and have a great day. Tell me why I never want to heartbreak. Allah go. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay. La la la. My eyes. Like, I have a light today, as you can probably tell. My eyes are light sensitive. This ain't gonna work out. I mean, playlists.